Hi, everyone. Welcome to Beacons of Balance. I'm Arlene, one of the hosts, my beautiful other co-host,
Joanne.
Joanne, and below is Stephanie. We'll introduce her shortly. If it's your first time coming to Beacons of Balance, welcome. It's all about being in balance because we live in this world of chaos and duality. So what we bring to you on each episode are some little pearls of wisdom to bring each of us back into balance, to live our best life possible, to help to self-empower each other and to lift each other up in the light. So that's what it's all about. And we have a wonderful show for you today. It's very exciting, very fun, and it's all about self-empowerment. So I want to introduce to you Stephanie May Saujon. She's a professional photographer and owner of I want to say the French way, La Photographie Boudoir, Photograph Boudoir. It's a photography studio specializing in intimate, elegant, and empowering boudoir and fantasy photography. And Stephanie has 17 years experience, even though she looks like she's 20, in the industry. Stephanie has a keen eye for capturing the beauty and sensuality of her subjects in a tasteful and respectful manner. And Stephanie creates a comfortable, safe, and creative environment for her clients, allowing them to relax and be themselves in front of the camera. She believes that everyone should have the opportunity to feel confident and beautiful, and her photographs reflect this belief. Stephanie has photographed thousands of women, and boudoir photography is an art form that promotes inclusivity and encourages individuals of diverse shapes, sizes, abilities, and appearances to embrace their bodies with confidence and empowerment. And that's what we're here for, is to lift each other up and being empowered. So this is wonderful. Stephanie is an expert in all different styles: beauty portraits, glamour shots, fantasy photo shoots, retro pinup, and empowerment photography. A boudoir photo shoot invites you to see yourself in a different light and step into your power like never before. That's beautiful. What beautiful work.
That's awesome.
All about, I think years ago people thought, boudoir photography was like the pinup girl and everything, but you've taken it into a different light. And in fact, when I first heard about it, that's what my interpretation was, but it isn't. So after we finish this, everything, all the information for Stephanie will be listed below. And I just want to say that Stephanie's husband is Victor, our wonderful, our techie angel, as I
Our
call
little angel. He is our angel. I don't know what we would do without him. Oh my God.
Me either.
Stephanie, we're so honored to have you as our guest today. Our show is all about empowering everyone, but what do you do? Oh my gosh. I mean, I love photography. I majored in it in college, and to see what you're doing to lift people up, uh, just wow. I congratulate you on that. So tell us, how did you get started in this? Were you always a photographer and then this morphed in from there?
Thank you so much. So I have always loved photography since I was a young child and have always been drawn to imagery and art. I grew up really loving fashion magazines. So in the 90s, which is when I was a teenager, I would look at, Vogue magazine or Harper's Bazaar and just admire the clothing, the hair and makeup, the posing, but I never saw myself represented in those magazines. I mean, we all know what the classic supermodel looks like. They are 6 feet tall and willowy. And I was, I'm 5'6" and curvy. So back in the 90s, there weren't a lot of examples out there for how someone like myself could embody that feeling of being glamorous. So I actually went through college. I majored in English and writing. My goal was to become a book editor. And I got an internship in 2002 in New York City at Paper Magazine. And this is when I was introduced to fashion photography up close. So I was an intern, so I got to run around and pick up clothing from designers and make sure that all of the catering was done. And I basically did a lot of grunt work in that job. But this was the first time that I got to see an actual photo shoot happen. And from there, I was so inspired. And after I graduated college, I had some friends who did photography very casually, just amateur, photography, and they would ask me to pose for them. I love to be photographed. I've always been a ham my entire life. I have pictures of myself when I was a child where my mother did my makeup and put me on the table with a little dress on and had me do these different poses. So I've always enjoyed being photographed. And then around 2007 is when I decided that I really wanted to run my own business. And after watching my friends who were photographers, amateur photographers, I thought, you know what? I think I could do that. I think I could do this. I can learn photography. I can learn how to use a camera and try to understand lighting. And so I went back to community college and I took 2 semesters worth of classes. I took, lighting 1, Photoshop. I took a class on the business of photography. I learned how to use my camera the right way. And then from there, I started law photography. So I started law photography in 2007. And initially, I was just very drawn to photographing women. I've always just loved the female form and found it to be so beautiful and inspiring. So some of my first photographs that I ever took are of my girlfriends in their underwear. And this is way before boudoir photography was even a genre. This is back when it was more known as pinup photography. And that is really how I got my start was I wanted to see more representation in glamour photography. And I combined that with my desire to run my own business. And now here I am 17 years later, still loving what I do.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is amazing. And it's a gift. It's a gift to people.
It is.
So I know that you do a lot of work as far as what you have to put together to have a session happen. Are the sessions individualized for each client? I know you have different themes that you use in that, or do the clients pick from like a standard, like a menu type of list?
Yes. So everything I do is fully custom for my clients. So if somebody comes to me with an idea that they want to pull off, let's say they want to do like a photo shoot in a swimming pool and they want to have, different colored lights and have it be really cinematic, then I can pull that off for them. But I also have clients who come to me and they don't know what they want to do. They've never done anything like this before and they just want to feel beautiful. So in that case, I do have a menu that they can look at. I have many different sets and themes that people can choose from. And sometimes even that can be a little bit overwhelming for people. So I step them through the process by having conversation with them, asking them what they're drawn to, what their aesthetic is like. When they're looking at images, what do they like the most? And then I help them refine the vision and, narrow down the options so that when we're doing the photo shoot, it feels like it is authentic for them and that it resonates with them. But usually people will come into the studio if they've never done this before and they will choose like a standard set. So a standard set would be a set that always exists in the studio. I don't have to build it or break it down. But then after they do their first photo shoot, they almost always want to come back and do another one. And in that case, I have plenty of different themes and concepts for them to choose from.
Interesting. I was looking at some of the poses behind you, Stephanie. I think if I put myself in some of those positions, I might not get up. You made a good point. Back in the day, and Arlene, you know this, back in the 60s, what was the one model?
Oh, God.
Twiggy.
So it's like, even if you were 5 pounds overweight, it's like, I think it really messed us up psychologically. But I was wondering, Stephanie, do you find that, most women find something wrong with their bodies in this day and age?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't care if you're a supermodel, they find something wrong with themselves.
People are very hard on themselves. And the society that we live in has really conditioned us to believe that we are not beautiful, that we are not good enough. Even, I will have a stunning client walk through the door who has, who's a size 2 and 5'10" and looks beautiful. And she may hate the way she looks and have even like body dysmorphia. Some of my clients really fight with not being able to see themselves truly. And so that's where I come in and I'm able to really work with them to make sure that we're capturing images that they feel comfortable doing, But then later they look back and they say, I look so beautiful here. I can't believe that's me. And, you know, some clients may be self-conscious about, of course, the number one thing that people are self-conscious about is their midsection. That's very, very common.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of ways of working with that. Some people want to embrace it. They want to see it in the photos so that it makes it real for them. And it also helps them come to terms with their own image and how that's beautiful. It doesn't matter what size you are. At some point, somebody told you that you weren't beautiful. They implied it. They said it straight to your face. Somebody called you a name or made comments about your size or your weight or the shape of your body. And so we're always trying to unlearn that. We're trying to unpack that and unlearn it so that you can move forward. Maybe people don't always get to the place of loving their parts of their bodies that they haven't loved in the past. But I think the goal that I try to encourage people to do or to reach is to just come to a neutral place about it. If you can just get to a neutral place about, you know, your midsection or your backside, or, you know, some people get very specific, like, please only photograph me from the right side of my face because I really don't like the left side. And those things are, I don't see that when I look at them, right? So to me, I try to gently push a little bit to make sure that not in a way that's going to make anybody uncomfortable, but in a way that's going to help them try to break through some of those self-limiting beliefs that have been really ingrained in all of us since we were children.
Do you play music to get them in the, like?
I do, yes. So I love music.
Right. I love music. I know.
Yeah. So I always ask, I have a questionnaire that I send to every client. And one of the first questions is, what is your favorite type of music, or what is your favorite musician? And then when they arrive in the studio that day, I have that music playing for them so that they immediately feel at home and welcomed here. And then I have different playlists. So depending on the vibe of the photo shoot, I might choose something that's sexier, or I might choose something that's a little bit more upbeat. So I definitely use music as a way to connect with people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's nothing like music to get someone loose and just get them in the mood. It's so powerful.
Absolutely.
Do you take photo shoots also for, you know, I know a big thing now is pregnancies. You know, I mean,
I do.
Joanne and I, we went through it. We went fine. We were big moo-moos. No one wanted to show their bodies at all, right, Joanne?
Oh my God.
Now it's like
now they're wearing bikinis. You
belly
know?
buttons all.
I do maternity photography. In fact, I started doing maternity photography right away. So one of my very good friends at the time was pregnant when I started doing photography in community college. And so I asked her if I could photograph her. And that photo shoot was done on black and white film. I shoot all digital now, but when I first started, I shot on film. And they're still some of my favorite photos. And about 5 years into my career, I was contacted by Professional Photographer magazine, and they actually ended up doing an entire feature on my maternity photography. So now, of course, it's easier to find a maternity photographer who isn't just going to have you posing in a field looking down at your belly, like the very basic photos. What I offer is something more than that. Conceptual photography. I recently actually had a very good friend of mine who lives in Chicago. She flew out here to Connecticut to do her maternity session with me, and we used a projector. I projected these different shapes onto her body, and it was very avant-garde, very artsy. So whether somebody wants something a little bit more traditional or they want something really unique and artistic, then I work with them to bring that vision to life.
Wow, that's cool. So if you want different themes, like, you know, a fairy theme, like a mother-daughter in a forest, can you set all that up?
Absolutely. Yeah. So actually, one of the themes that I'm working on right now is called fairy tale. And so I'm working with a lot of the clients who are coming in are on the fairy tale like concept. So I help them. I actually made some fairy wings recently. My first pair of I'm very crafty. So I love to make like headdresses and wings and, you know, different types of things that people can use. So whether they want to look like an evil queen in a forest or if they want to look like a magical fairy, then I'm able to help them bring that to life too.
I would do that in a heartbeat. I'm all about the fairies, right, Arlene?
You know, Juliet.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I would get my granddaughters and I'd be, we'd have a field day.
It is so fun. It really is such a fun process. Mm-hmm.
Even for like a book cover design.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that
Absolutely.
would
I've
be
had a couple of my
so
images be used for book covers in the past.
really. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's
her work is amazing. Do you do other types of photography? Like, do you ever get into doing the weddings, special events, or is it just strictly the boudoir?
So when I first started, I kind of did a little bit of everything. I wasn't really sure how to niche down at that point in my career. So I started off doing weddings and family photography. Really, I just love to photograph people. But I've even done real estate photography in the past. But in the years that I've been doing this, I've slowly narrowed everything down to where right now, 99% of what I do is boudoir or fantasy photography for women. I occasionally will do family portraits, but I don't advertise for that. I don't have a website up for that. So I don't put that out into the world. But if you know me or I've done a photo shoot for you in the past, then you may reach out to me for your family photos. I do love photographing children. I think there's something really magical about capturing their spirit. I did my last wedding 2 years ago, and I have no regrets. I no longer photograph weddings anymore. So I've had people reach out to me about it, but I have had the pleasure of saying I no longer photograph weddings. It's just, not really what I'm
You have to
into.
deal. You have to deal with all the emotions and the bridezillas and everything, and everybody else that wants their opinions done. I'm sure.
You know,
that's a tough gig, weddings.
Wedding photography is very challenging, and I feel like I'm so thankful that I've never really had a true bridezilla, even in the hundreds of weddings that I've photographed. But the problem what I don't love about shooting weddings is that you're not just a portrait photographer, and that's what I excel at is portraits. You're also an action photographer. You're a lifestyle photographer. You're a detail food photographer. You're getting every aspect of it. You can't control the light. You can't control where people stand for the most part, during the ceremony and things like that. It's very high pressure. So you literally have a split second to capture certain moments. And if you don't have the right focus and the right lighting in the exact right moment, then you miss that. You miss it. And I just find that I love having my studio. I love being able to pose someone, tell them exactly how to sit in the chair, where to put their hands, and then I design the lighting around them. So I have a lot more control over portrait photography. And this far into my career, that's really what I want, is to be able to control the environment, so that I can help provide the best experience for people. And even though I've photographed some beautiful weddings, and I'm very pleased that families will have, those images to look back on for generations, it doesn't quite suit me anymore to do that.
Yeah. Outdoor lighting. Do you find, Stephanie, outdoor lighting is really harsh on the face?
No, I love shooting outdoors.
Oh,
So
you do?
one of the things that sets me apart from other boudoir photographers is that I offer outdoor photo shoots. A lot of photographers who do this genre will only shoot in the studio.
Right.
But I have learned to really master lighting. So
Okay.
it doesn't really matter where it's at or what time of day. I can always work with the sun to provide just really beautiful images for people. I prefer to shoot closer to sunset because you get that golden hour. You're able to put people in open shade and create just a really beautiful, like glowy kind of image. But I actually just did a photo shoot a couple of days ago where we were outside around 5 p.m. And it wasn't quite golden hour, but the photos turned out gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. So I've had to challenge myself over the years of shooting in full sun and learning how to direct people so that it doesn't create, the harsh shadows under the eyes, so it's not unflattering.
Right.
So I feel pretty confident about my lighting skills. Yeah.
What's really cool, Joanne, her pictures that I've seen, and I know her work a little bit, is she'll do some in a pool.
In a swimming pool?
I do. I have
some of your fairy work, right? The ethereal. In
Yes.
a pool.
Like a mermaid? Like underwater?
I have done mermaids. Yes, I've photographed mermaids both at the seaside and at the swimming pool. So I feel as soon as where my studio is at is inside of my home, which is an 1895 Victorian farmhouse, and there is a pool in the back. And as soon as I walked onto the property and saw the pool, I thought, oh, I have to build a set here. Of course, I'm going to build a set here. So last summer, actually, I built a huge set. I call it Enchanted Waters. And I bring people there it's very fantasy based. So they get into the water, and then I have all of this lighting behind them, and it's very beautiful. I use a lot of plants and a lot of backdrop kind of trickery to make it look like they're in the middle of the forest. And I use a smoke machine too, just to create that, magical element. So yeah, I love working with the swimming pool. It's really fun.
Do you have a special team that just does your hair and makeup, or do you do that?
So I actually style hair pretty regularly for my clients because the team that I work with for hair and makeup, they are amazing. I have a few different hair and makeup artists that I work with. But a lot of them, they're mostly used to doing bridal hair and makeup. That's their bread and butter. So when they come here, they get to do more fun looks, more experimental looks. But they're not as comfortable doing vintage hair. So if a client comes in and she wants like a vintage victory rolls or something like that, then I would be the one to style their hair because I have more experience with vintage styling than my hair and makeup artists do. But my team is incredible. I have the best people, and everybody always loves the way they look when their hair and makeup is done. It's a big part of what we offer.
Wow. I did the victory roll last for Halloween. It's so much fun.
It is. Yeah. It takes us back to those bombshell, 1950s pinup days.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's funny.
Wow.
So, Stephanie, do your clients, I'm sure they do, but do they get emotional when they see the final?
Absolutely.
When they're
yes.
over?
I definitely have had, many women who have shed tears during the process of seeing their images, happy tears. And I think it can be life-changing for people. It really can change the way that they see themselves, because when we see ourselves, we're looking in a mirror, or we maybe are looking down at our bodies. And so we don't always have the perspective that other people have when they look at us. And I'm able to use lighting and posing and theme and concept to create an image of them that they're not used to looking at. And sometimes that, especially if they've never done a photo shoot before and they come in, they're nervous, but they trust the process. They let me do what I'm best at. And then when they're looking at their images, sometimes it's the first time they've ever felt beautiful in their whole lives. And that could be a really powerful thing and can be very emotional for people. So I always do my best to hold space for people and, make sure that I'm available should they want to talk through it. But sometimes when we're looking through their images and they're picking out their favorite ones, they just have happy tears coming down.
So I'm curious, Stephanie, if I were the photographer and you were the client, what would be your ideal surroundings?
That's a great question. So I do a lot of self-portraits. So I like to show my clients, that I also can be in front of the camera and have that vulnerability. So I'm not sure, because I've done a lot of self-portraits on my own sets and have fulfilled a lot of those, I guess, like my own photo shoot fantasies. So I don't know, maybe something in Paris. I love Paris. I've been there a couple of times, but I've never done a full-on photo shoot there. So I would want to do something that is in another location, somewhere magical that I really love.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow. Definitely I'll have to come. We're going there next month.
Oh, wow. I'm so excited for you. That'll be really fun.
I have to talk to you. You have to tell me some places.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love
pictures.
Yes.
Arlene, what would be your ideal background?
Oh my God.
You could pick any background.
That would cover me up. Like
It's just your face.
A restaurant, a bakery.
Oh my gosh. I think I would have to be in a fairy forest. Boxes and hanging plants and, the wreath around my head, like the goddess type.
Oh, yeah.
That's so Joanne-y. Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm very close by. One of the things I love about the location of the studio is that I'm very close by to a beautiful forest. And then I'm also close by to the seaside. And I'm sort of right in between those places. So a lot of my fantasy clients will choose the forest. And spring, summer, fall, it is absolutely beautiful out there.
Oh, that sounds fun. I just wish you lived closer. I would be doing fairy shots for sure.
Clients travel to me pretty regularly. So
really?
I do have people who fly here to create with me on a regular basis. So because I'm from Nashville and that's where I started my business back in 2007, a lot of my client base is there in Nashville. And so I used to travel back there and do photo shoots, but I'm doing that less and less because I'm becoming more established here in Connecticut, and I really love creating in my studio. So on a regular basis, at least a couple of times a month, people are flying in. And then regionally, people drive in. Last night, my client was from Massachusetts. I have people, last week, I had someone come from Pennsylvania. I have clients down in Maryland. A lot of people come in from New York City or New York State. So the travel part of this is definitely something that I encourage people. If they love what I do and they're drawn to my work and to me, then I'm happy to provide travel information for people.
Oh, that's fun. So my question is, do you ever do males?
Oh, that's a good question. So occasionally I will. I don't specialize in that. So I usually make that pretty clear to people if they inquire. I don't get a lot of inquiries from men. The majority of people that I work with are definitely women, or occasionally non-binary people will come to me,
Right.
but usually not a lot of men. I am starting to photograph more couples. So that's something that I want to get more into doing over the next year. It's something I'm interested in doing more of.
I wanted to ask you, now this is going to be morbid, but has anybody contacted you that they know they're ill and they're going to be leaving soon and they want to do something in memorial for their family, or they want to see themselves in a better light before they do that final crossing? Have you had that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had a few sessions like that. And it's always such an honor, and it's very profound to me when someone chooses to capture their essence and their form, whether they have a terminal diagnosis, which is usually the situation. If they've gotten a terminal diagnosis, then or maybe they're going to be going through chemo and they want to capture before they lose their hair, or before their body changes, or before they have a mastectomy, or after. I've actually, I have a friend who has stage 4 breast cancer, and she's in her 30s. She's lovely. We've known each other for over a decade. And after she had her spacers taken out and her reconstructive surgery, she did a photo shoot with me to honor that time in her life. And I'm really thankful for that.
I've seen some really cool shots where they, the younger person in the family will be holding the grandmother's hand, the weathered hand, and it's just a hand shot, and it's just so profound.
It's very powerful. I have done a photo shoot with 3 generations of women. This was I used to travel a lot and do this. I lived in Denver, Colorado for 5 years and would travel all over the country to do these photo shoots. And I was in Casper, Wyoming, and had been brought in to do a photo shoot with a woman, her mother, and her grandmother. And, the hair and makeup, very vintage style. We got these beautiful portraits of the 3 of them together, and then some of each of them separately. And then I learned recently that her grandmother passed away, and the one of the photos that I took of her was used at the funeral, was used like framed and, made large as the memorial image, which is, of course, such an honor.
It's beautiful.
Now, I know that at one point you were doing you do events like weekends. I know Halloween is one of your favorite, and I know you did something in Salem, Mass, where you had a group of women come in and you would do the weekends. Are you still doing things like that?
So that's on hold right now. I call that the Wild Witches Retreat Weekend. And so the first year her name is Madison Hurley, and she's a very good friend of mine, and we love to work together. She lives in Arkansas. So typically we will travel to a location and then host a weekend for people. But this year, instead of hosting a full weekend, she and I are just traveling to New Orleans together in December and then offering photo shoots there. So we're not really offering a retreat weekend in the same way, where we provide food and a place to stay and all of that. And instead, we're just offering for people to travel there, have their own accommodations, and then come and do their session with us. So I'm not sure if or when I'll get back to those full retreat weekends. To be perfectly honest with you, it is a lot of work and it is a lot of responsibility. So I have found that October is such a busy month for me. As you just mentioned, Arlene, I love Halloween, and I build these big specialty sets around Halloween. So this year, my specialty set is called The Witch's Den, and I have a huge cauldron that lights up and has smoke coming out of it that they can pose in. And so I love set building. And rather than travel and sort of take all of this time and energy and money, I'm just kind of deciding this year to stay put and to offer my services here in the studio.
Oh, I just thought, Joanne, that question you asked, what would be mine? What would I want to be set up in? And you said security and the outside. Well, of course, what would mine be? Angels.
Angels.
Have to be ethereal and
You're sitting on a cloud.
angelic with the
I do have a cloud set. I have a cloud set.
Oh, you have a
Yep,
cloud set.
I do. It's called Dreamlight.
my wings out.
Well, there
Yes,
you
we
go.
could get you
A
some
halo.
wings and a halo.
Well,
Absolutely.
hoist you up on a,
Oh, God.
have you swinging from some cables.
That'd be funny.
Oh my God. So Stephanie, what has been your biggest challenge in all of this?
That's a very good question. I think just being in business for 17 years, seeing, I started my business in a recession. And then I've seen a lot of economic ups and downs over the years. And I think the hardest part of this is just, marketing, making sure that people know that I exist, getting the word out, whether it is paid advertising or referral program or in-person networking. It's never ending, of course, the marketing side of this, the business side. The photography side that I love and that I'm so passionate about is really only about 30% of what I do. The rest of what I do is marketing and running the business side of things. So I would say that getting clients in the door is the biggest challenge. Luckily, now that I've been here in Connecticut for 3 years, it's starting to snowball, which is what you want. You want that snowball effect. I'm starting to get repeat clients. In fact, right now, I have a client who has 3 sessions coming up with me over the next 6 months. So repeat clients will come back and book, and then they tell their friends, and that's really, really helpful. I also would say that, moving to a new state and a new region where I didn't know anyone and starting my business from scratch here was very challenging. And that during that time, I really had to travel to other places to make enough income. And that I look back 3 years ago and I think to myself, like, what was I thinking? I can't believe that I had, the guts to do something so bold. But I'm really glad that I did because I love it here in Connecticut. So yeah, I would say, marketing, getting clients, making sure people know who I am, that is the biggest challenge.
Were there times that you want to throw your hands up and say, nah?
Absolutely. Yes, many times.
I think that's a common factor in business.
It is.
When I remember when I started my shop, it was the same thing. I just went with nothing. And there were days I was crying back. I said, what am I doing here? I'm crazy. I'm going to close the door. I'm running away. I'm leaving it. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes.
I think every businesswoman goes through that.
Absolutely. And when you learn that there are ups and downs of business and you learn to ride that uncertainty, because I think that any career is going to have ups and downs or pluses and minuses. If you have a corporate job, then you're required to be there 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You maybe probably have a boss telling you what to do. You have to deal with, coworkers, but you have the security, you have insurance, you have paid vacation. So there are perks to that. Whereas when you run your own business, you can make your own schedule for the most part. You're your own boss, so you don't really have anyone telling you what to do. But you don't have the security, you don't have the insurance, you don't have the paid vacation. So it's all up to you. But I've found, I think just from doing this as long as I have, that there are going to be feast and famine times. And I've learned to prepare for that and to save and make sure that when I'm in, a feast mode where I'm creating a lot and my earnings are up, and I save that so that when I'm in a famine mode, I can use that, money to get by. But I also find, and I think that you'll really love this, especially knowing what your podcast is about, is that I really just have to trust. I have to trust that everything is working out for me at all times. Even when I have a setback, I have to remind myself that it's okay. This is still working out for my best interest at any given moment. And that is a scary thing because you're hanging over the abyss with no safety net and you have to just trust that the rope is going to hold you. And I find that the more I do that, the better I get at doing it. It's like a muscle that you build. The more practice you get, the easier it becomes. And there was even a time whenever we were living in Denver and I was trying to get a real job. Not that running this business isn't a real job, but you know what I mean. I was trying to get a job where I didn't have to worry about, the feast and the famine and finding clients and all of that. And I tried so hard. I put together a beautiful resume. I applied for so many different jobs. I was applying for jobs in different parts of the country because I thought I'll move if I find a really good position somewhere. I have a lot of experience. Surely someone will want to hire me. And nothing, no bites. I spent months, and this happened more than once, where I tried to go into the workforce and actually get employment, and I was not able to find it. I mean, I have a bachelor's degree. I have, 20 years of experience at copywriting, and I have sales ability. I have a lot of different skills, but for whatever reason, the universe did not provide those opportunities for me. And I had to really come to terms with the fact that this is what I'm meant to do. Even when it gets hard, even when it seems impossible, even when I don't know where my next client is coming from. Thankfully, I'm not in that space right now, but I have been many times in the past, and I have to just trust. I have to trust. And of course, I have to work hard too. I can't just trust that it's going to happen and then it happens. I have to put the work in. I've had to, reinvent my business over and over again to match with the changing times, to understand how social media affects my business and to get to know that and learn it. Ads, learning how to do ads, understanding Google and web design, all the things that go into it. I have to learn those things. But luckily, I'm really passionate and I'm also really stubborn. So if I hit a roadblock, then clearly I just have to work harder and work smarter. And I just have that sort of personality that digs in, and I refuse to give up. So it brings me to where I am now, even though I have wanted to try to have a little bit of an easier life with my career. It's not meant to be. This is what I'm meant to be doing.
No, it'll start flowing better in ease, right. I believe. But you made a valid point. It's thought, word, and action. I think most of society, most of us live in thought and word. We'll think of something creative, whatever, we'll speak about it, but then we fall short of doing the action part.
Exactly.
Go out there and do that. I mean, you even got when I was looking for a relationship and, when I started on the dating sites, at first I was just doing it like, haha, whatever, But when I really defined what I wanted in my life and what I wanted to create, it was a job. It was a job, and I had to do the action part. And I mean, I made it like a business that I was going out there and putting myself out there, It's being very vulnerable. But what you're talking about, everything that you do is wonderful. It's empowerment for the women. Well, for all of us, it is about being in balance. Everything you touched upon, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And I've gone through times in my life and in my career where I've been out of balance. And balance, it's something we always strive for. It's very hard to achieve true balance, but I'm always striving for that. I'm always trying to make sure that I have balance between my personal life and my career, making sure that I have time for myself, to take care of myself, to take care of my family. And without that balance, if you're in tune with yourself and you've done a lot of internal work, whether it's through therapy or meditation or, whatever your approach is, if you've done a lot of that inner work on yourself, then when you're out of balance. You can feel it. You know that something is out of whack. And then working to get back into balance is a process. So all of it is an exercise, like there's no perfect place that you reach. You just keep trying every day and have grace for ourselves too, try to be kind to ourselves when we can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are all excellent points. Stephanie, if you could, what advice would you have for the women out there who really don't feel in balance with their own bodies? They're embarrassed for their own bodies. And you've seen hundreds of, I'm sure, if not thousands. What advice would you give to someone who doesn't feel comfortable in their own skin?
Yes. I would say the first thing that we can do is change how we speak to ourselves in our own minds. Yeah, that is such an important thing. And I didn't create this concept, but I've heard it many times, which is the way that you speak to yourself in your mind. Would you speak to your friend that way? Would you tell a friend that they're ugly or that they don't look good in a dress or an outfit that they're wearing? You would never say that. You would be kinder. And so I think it's important to speak kinder to yourself. And that you don't have to go from I hate myself to I love myself. There is a huge gap between those two places. And that's why I think that coming to a neutral place is more attainable for people. So you might not say, I love my body, but you can maybe just say, I'm okay with my body. The body exists. It is here. I'm not going to love it. Maybe I can't love it yet, but I'm also not going to hate it. So I think speaking kinder to ourselves is really the crucial first step of this. But if you're not able to get there, then absolutely doing inner work like therapy has been so helpful for me. I've been in some form of therapy, for the better part of 25 years. And it's really helped me overcome a lot of my own inner dialogue that has been very damaging, just from childhood and the things that we learn to say to ourselves. We punish ourselves more than anyone ever will. So when you can sort of get a hold of that and start to change that narrative, whether it's through affirmations. I love affirmations. I say my affirmations all of the time. Even when you don't believe it, just keep telling yourself your affirmations, whatever that needs to be for you. I am healthy. I am loved. I am, I like to think about myself in terms of like my function too. So instead of thinking about how my body looks, I think about how it works, right? If I'm able to walk my dog around the neighborhood, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Am I able to do this action? Of course, it's not limited to that. Some people have different abilities or maybe unable to walk. But I think about, rather than how I look, I think about how I feel. And I think about how
great. That's a wonderful point. And you're a young person. This message is for the young ones out there, because you think you'll never, this won't happen to you or whatever. But as Joanne and I know, as we're getting older, oh my Lord, you're just so grateful to be able to be vertical and get up out of bed and to be able to breathe and to see and to embrace everything that's out there. Because as you start getting different ills that happen to you, you're like, oh my Lord, I took this for granted for so many years that I can't hold this or I can't open this, or, right, Joanne?
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh,
you're grateful for every little thing.
But when we're young, we don't think about that. We think we're invincible and this is going to go on this way forever. So be grateful for, and you're in the right place, made a very valid point. So
yeah, those were all excellent points, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, I lost my mother to brain cancer when I was 28, and I spent the majority of my 20s caring for her. And she also had multiple sclerosis. So she had a couple of really challenging, of course, one of them was terminal illnesses. And I watched her over time lose her abilities, and not only her physical abilities, but her cognitive abilities, her abilities to speak, her ability to communicate, her ability to express herself. And bearing witness to that was very difficult for me, but it also gave me so much perspective. It gave me so much perspective on what to value. And that has been a really, crucial part of what's made me, what the experiences that have made me who I am today.
Beautiful.
That's beautifully said. Well,
wow. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, our time is rolling around here because Victor will be telling us. So I want to thank you again for being with us and sharing everything and really shedding the light on the work that you do, because a lot of times people out there have a different connotation of what your specific type of photography is about, and it's this is so to put the light on it as far as empowering women to seeing ourselves in our best light, to bring ourselves forward, to shine the light on each other, you're bringing that out in people, and that's what we're here for. That's what our station's about, is to lift each other up and shine our lights on each other. So,
Lily, thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun and really an honor to connect with both of you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And good luck with everything in the future.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for that's watching us with their eyes or hearing us on the podcast. And as always, I say, get out of here, get out of your head space for those that don't see us, and get into your heart. And it's all about love, and be the beautiful beacons of light that you are, and shine it out there, because each and every one of us needs this. The planet needs it. The entire universe is needed. We're all connected as one in one source. Thank you, my beautiful co-host, and thank you, my beautiful.
Thank you, Arlene. Love you.
Thank you. And we will have all of Stephanie's information listed below. And as always, please subscribe. We have a nice, beautiful new button that Victor's created for us to hit on to subscribe. And also leave comments. Let us know what you think and what you would like to hear about. And
share it with your friends.
Share it and spread it. We need this to spread out.
We need to get this out to the world.
Grow.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, ladies. Love you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.